Hi, my name is Bruce Bolger, and I'm founder of the Enterprise Engagement Alliance and publisher of Rewards Recognition Network, the industry's leading publication every week, every year, covering the whole world of total rewards and recognition. And as part of our educational program, we like to do interviews with people at the front lines of the business, all aspects of the business. And today we're happy to have Terri Millmeyer. She's CEO of Exclusive Originals. She's a Halo distributor, and she is a distributor who's gotten involved with the business of rewards and recognition. And she was recommended to us by Roger Thomas, and he's vice president for Partners for Incentives. And that, I believe, is one of the very few incentive companies that only sells through solution providers like promotional products. Partners for Incentives, since I believe 1989, has sold directly through distributors all those years, and they handle almost every type of program. And we are the how-to organization for Total Rewards. You never have to do any business with us to take advantage of our free newsletters, our free resources, our library. We're your go-to source for how-to information. So I'm now going to stop this share, hopefully, and introduce you again to Terri, who's located in beautiful San Antonio, where I'd like to be today. And Roger, he's in Dallas. So Terri, tell us a little bit about your business. How did you get involved with the promotional products business and then evolve into incentives and recognition?
So I got into the industry purely by accident. I was um, looking for my next chapter, and a friend of mine said, "Come help me straighten up my office until you figure out what you want to do in life."
Hmm.
And so she was in the promotional products industry as a sole proprietor. So I went over and hate to say that I introduced her to the fax machine. And so she was no longer sending things to the mail, she was faxing. So that kind of tells you how long ago that was. So I then was a distributor, loved the industry. When I was in the corporate world, I my budget for promotional products was always way over. I would rob from this budget to be able to buy gadgets, and so it was a natural fit for me, and just loved it. And it just evolved into my joining Halo in 1996, and it's been just wonderful ever since.
So you've been a Halo distributor since 1996. Well, the new president there, I hope he gives you a call because obviously you're a veteran. So how did you
Yeah.
get into the incentive? What got you into recognition or incentives? When did that happen and how?
So my clients, I try to handle all aspects of their marketing business, from the promotional products to displays to anything that they want to put a logo on. And then recognition just seemed to fall into line with that. Talking with HR managers and directors, that is an area that they always struggled with. How do we reward our employees? How do we incentivize our employees? So it just went hand in hand. And finding Roger and Partners with for Incentives just seemed to fit with my model and made it just so easy for me to incorporate that into one of the platforms that I sell.
So Roger, what types of support do you guys provide for companies like Terry's so that she can focus on what she does best and you can make sure she comes out a star?
Yeah, we try and make it really easy on our distributors out there. They're experts in promotional products and those kind of things. We're experts in incentive and recognition programs. And so we provide all the applications from A to Z. So everything from helping them and their client with the proper program rules, i.e., how the employees would earn points in a program, to communication of the program. I always say silent programs don't work. So we show them how to communicate via the point bank statements that go out to the end user participants. to let them know how many points they've earned in the program. And then we may have some training elements into it, such as, hey, how does the program work? What does it mean to them? What does it mean to the organization? What does the organization want to focus on? And then we will put in a tracking, measuring, and reporting process. So both the distributor and their end user will know exactly how their program's performing, because at the end of the day, it's about return on investment. You know, if they spend 1x, they want to get 3 or 4x in return for it. So we're constantly monitoring that, measuring it, making sure that the employee is engaged, and the program is performing the way it's supposed to perform. And if it's not, then Terri and I are talking. I'm giving her ideas on how to improve the engagement and the performance, and then we'll make those tweaks, and then the client will end up with a really good program.
So, Terry, this does sound, you're obviously an expert in promotional products going back to 1997. You've almost been in as long as I have. Um, Not quite. But so my question to you is, this seems like kind of a big shift of, I mean, everything having to do with promotional products is so much different than program design, recognition, all of these things. So what is it that you need to know to be successful, and what don't you need to know so that you don't have to become a complete expert in another area of business?
So it really comes down to the vendors that you use. Running into Roger at a show, um, and he was just happened to catch me as I was walking by. One of those that just grabbed me, and I said, "No, I'm not that interested." And he said, "No, just give me 5 minutes." And I said, "Okay." And the more he started talking about recognition and how it can help my clients, and then going back in my head and thinking, "Oh, this client." Was talking about how to incentivize their employees. Okay, Roger, maybe we do need to talk. So then we scheduled a one-on-one, and it just seemed to fit. I scheduled a meeting with Roger and my client and myself. We sat down and chatted about what their needs were, where their pain points were, and we just came up with a solution for them. So Roger was just the right vendor at the right time, and it just kind of all meshed together. So you don't have to be a rocket scientist. I like to think that I am, but I'm more of a problem solver for my clients. If they've got a pain point, I want to be the one that they call and say, "Hey, Terri, this is what's going on." And I know the right vendors by going to all of the trade shows, and Halo does so much education that that helps as well with our national sales meeting. And at the PPAI show, we have education day there as well, that you just find the right vendors that can help you. So you don't need to have all the answers. You know where to look.
And so what's interesting is what you seem to be saying. I don't need to have all the answers. I need to know how to ask the right questions.
Correct.
Because you're not presenting yourself, and correct me if I'm wrong, as the world's expert in every type of promotional product. You can't possibly be. You can't possibly be the expert in every type of program. But what you're saying is you associate yourselves with the vendors that are the experts. I
Correct.
guess the question, the issue for you and the big value add that you provide is getting to know the clients, isn't it?
You have to know your clients, but you also have to know your vendors, and then everything can just mesh together. So it's really important that you spend time with vendors to know what they offer, what platforms they do have when it comes to incentives and recognition. It's really important. Dealing with your clients, you do need to know your clients. Make sure that you're connected with your clients on all social media. So if something pops up that maybe you didn't ask the right question, but you see it in social media, then you can go back to them and say, "Hey, Bruce, I saw on LinkedIn that this is a pain point for you. Let me help you with this." And
So
then you've already got a solution.
So the fun part of your job seems to be really talking with people, getting to
Absolutely.
know
And
them, listening. Go ahead.
listening. I was going to say the big key is not always talking, but listening.
In fact, I would agree. I think it's more important to listen than to talk. That's for sure. Uh,
Correct.
so, one of the things that I often hear from distributors that they don't like about the business is the margin issue. They'll say, I can get 40% or 25% margin on this order of apparel. The margin is only 15 or 18% or something on an incentive program. I'm just throwing out numbers. How have you addressed this issue?
So for me, it's a non-issue. If my client is happy and I can offer them a platform where, sure, maybe I'm not making as much money as I can on promotional products, but it's a solution for them. And that's a incentives and recognition is a repeat. So they're going to come back to you year after year. They're not going to shop that where they may shop for their summer event or for their holiday gifts. But for recognition, once you're in there and once it's a proven and you've worked out all the kinks and it's proven that it's working for them, they're not going to shop that. But then you make yourself invaluable on these other items that, oh, Terry's our solution person. Let's go to her. She's the one that comes up with the great ideas. So if you're servicing your customer, it doesn't really matter about making 40% on everything across the board. So I just don't worry about it. I think about more how I can help my client versus, of course, we all want to make money, but that's not the number one thing.
Well, one of the things I've heard from distributors like you, first off, they say the same thing, that it's much stickier. That if they're doing a good job with an incentive and recognition program, if they've put in Rogers Company's technology and everybody's happy with it and it's working, it's a pain in the neck to change. Whereas
Correct.
if I'm ordered, 500 widgets for a promotion next year, I'll put it out to bid. Maybe somebody else can. It's not very sticky. So you made that point. But also, isn't it once you set up the program for you, it's a lot less work over the course of the year, isn't it? I mean, if Roger's doing all the stuff he said they're doing, isn't it a little bit more like making money while you sleep?
Absolutely. I can just step back and Roger and his team, which they're amazing, by the way, um, they handle everything. So if the client has a question, I can just send it off to their team. The team sends me the answer back. I send it to the client. But most of the time, I don't even think about the program or touch the program.
Now, what about having somebody like Roger helping on his sales calls? Roger, do you guys get involved with supporting distributors on presentations?
I'm just going to
Yeah,
shake my
we
head
we
yes.
love
Well, I know I want to hear from you, but Roger, you can answer first.
we love helping distributors and marketing partners with that process. What I help them with is sometimes digging deeper into the discovery questions on, what we're looking for. And they're going to be in different departments. They might be in an HR department. They might be in a safety department. They might be in a sales and marketing department. And so I know all the questions to ask, so I can help with that. And once we determine what the business issues are for the end user, then what we do is I help put a presentation together to help them deliver that presentation to the end user. And I'm really there more for support in case the end user asks a question that they're not familiar with. And so I can answer pretty much any question. I can alleviate any kind of concerns or anything that they might have regarding a potential program. And once we do that, we have a much higher success rate of selling the end user in a program because they're more comfortable that they're dealing with a professional organization and we know what we're doing. So like you said, we've been doing it for I think over 70 years. It's pretty amazing.
I actually looked it up. Your company was founded in 1932. Can you believe that? 1932.
Wow.
Terry, back to you. It would seem to me that one of the opportunities in the incentive recognition engagement space is that companies have multiple departments, right? They might have an employee recognition program, but gee, they might have salespeople. They might want to run a sales incentive, or maybe they have channel partners. They sell through wholesalers. Maybe they sell through promotional products distributors and want to motivate them. Do you see opportunities for cross-selling in incentives and recognition?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, clients in all areas. And safety, Roger touched on safety. Safety is huge for incentives and also cross-selling. A lot of times they may kick off the program with some type of promotional item that says, you know, here's your starting point, and now it rolls into the recognition side. So absolutely, there's a great way to cross over. And it
How long-
also
Go
may
ahead.
get you into a department that you've not been into before. Maybe you haven't talked to safety, but you're working with HR on the recognition side, and they go, you know what? We can, because Roger's on the call with you, and he doesn't talk about his company. He talks about the platform. So he's like an extension of my company, of Halo, when he's talking about that.
So then, Roger, that gives you opportunities, I would imagine, to help Terry, because you might even be able to identify an opportunity, because you've been doing this just a
Mhm.
few more years than she has, that she didn't see.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunity for cross-selling and upselling. I once had a marketing partner that had 50,000 employees. We helped them put together an incentive and recognition program. It was an employee referral program. But I showed them how we would communicate the program with a promotional product, which the marketing partner distributor provided. They were able to get $1 higher per item on 50,000 items to communicate the program out there. And so, you know, if it was just based on price, that would have gone down to probably 5 or 10 cents difference. And so they were able to get a significantly higher margin on their promotional products because they controlled the entire incentive and recognition program, which was fantastic. And like Terry said, once you're into an organization, they start to see how the program works and operates, and they say, you know what, we could use that in our department. And so they may start off with a years of service program or an employee recognition. And then maybe the safety department says, hey, I saw your program. I like the way that operates. Hey, could we include safety in this particular program? And that's how we end up cross-selling into different areas of the organization. And that goes all the way to sales and marketing and also distribution channels as well.
So, Terry, do you expect this to be a growth part of your business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As more and more companies are fighting to keep their employees, because it's a lot easier to retain an employee than it is to hire a new employee and train them. So I definitely see that recognition is going to be huge today and into the future.
And of course, safety and sales incentives
That's-
and all of those things.
Exactly.
So one last thing, it is very different from promotional products. Um, and I would think in a way it would be good for your brand in this sense. And but tell me if I'm wrong. You know, promotional products, it does require a lot of creativity. It really does.
It does.
But when it comes to, I think, motivating employees, motivating salespeople, that is a notch higher on the CEO's priorities. Then, you know, sure, they want the promotional products to be beautiful, they want them to be on time, they want them to be on budget. But when they're trying to retain people or increase sales, that gets higher level attention. Do you think it's good for your brand to be involved with these types of programs, or you don't think it makes any difference really?
Oh, no, I definitely think it does. I think it helps you um, kind of dig deeper into the client. And the more they see Halo and Terri Millmeyer, the better you are. And the higher that goes, because you're dealing with a manager who's ordering promotional products. But you get up to the C suite and they start recognizing your name. They start thinking about other areas that you can help them with. That only ingrains you into that company.
And then one other thing it would appear to me is it's harder to commoditize your recognition and incentive services than it is to, you know, it's pretty easy for somebody to say, "Oh, I'll beat that widget price." This is a
Correct.
little bit more qualitative, I would think. It gives you a little bit more of a, it's not always just a price decision.
Exactly. And the client sees service. It's not always about the cheapest price. but it's about the service and how you address their issues and their pain points. So the more they see that, the more valuable you are to them.
So, Roger, are you seeing more and more distributors interested in incentives and recognition? The last time I've looked and analyzed it, if you really look at ASI's numbers and PPII's number, it looks like about 7 to 10% of distributors are active in some aspects of the business. Would you agree with that? And do you think it's growing? And Terry, I'll let you answer that too.
Yeah, I agree with that number. A lot of promotional marketing companies slash distributors, we call them distributors, um, are afraid to get into the incentive and recognition arena. And it's simply because you sell what you know and you stay away. Nobody wants to look not good. And so they stay away from the incentive and recognition space because they're afraid of they're going to get tripped up on questions. And that's where I come in. I've been in the business, got 30 years plus. I've seen a lot of different applications. I've seen a lot of different objections. I know how to overcome the objections. I know what the executives are looking for. When you get into the VP suite and the C suites, they're interested in return on investment. And I always like to give this example. Let's say they got a turnover problem. Let's say we can address the turnover problem through recruiting, through manager recognition, through getting the employees to be happier with where they're at because their manager has a lot to play in that part of it. But let's say you have 1,000 employees. Let's say you reduce the turnover by 10%. That's 100 employees. 100 employees times $10,000 per person. If you've got to recruit, retain, train, get them up to speed in that, that's $1 million that we just saved that organization. And so when you're looking at a VP, a director, or a VP, or a C-suite, that's what they're getting bonused on. They're getting bonused on, hey, I saved $1 million. Reduced our turnover by 10%. I improved our productivity by X. I increased our sales and revenue numbers X%. That's what they get excited about. As you go down the chain and you get to the administrative people, for those people, they're more interested in the price of the widget. And so my job is to really help Terry and distributors and marketing partners like her um, talk talk about the right kinds of things at the right level. And Terry's exceptional at this because she listens really well, she discovers really well. She's trying to find a solution for her end users, and that's exactly what you want to do in incentive and recognition programs. And so that's why she's as successful as she is.
So, Terry, I'm going to give you the last question. I read the promotional products publications. I followed it. Heck, I knew the the founder of ASI very well. He's still there, obviously, but getting rather elderly, I would imagine by now. But my point is that I don't hear distributors. I read every day, PPA. I don't hear distributors talking about incentives and recognition that much. Do you? You follow the trades. Do you see them? It sounds to me like not many distributors beyond, that 1,000 or 2,000 really get it.
I think it's scary for most. It was scary for me too. But I think once they dip their toe in, they realize how valuable it is to their client and then how valuable that makes you to your client. So I think it's a scary arena for most because we know how to sell a phone stand or a briefcase or a t-shirt. We know that, but we don't really know or understand completely recognition.
And you know what? Since we're coming to the end of this program, we're not going to encourage any distributors in the San Antonio area to figure this out at all. Folks, it's too complicated. Don't bother. Terry's got it covered, along with Roger Thomas at Partners for Impact.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, Terry Millmeyer, thank you so much
You're
from
very welcome.
and Roger, of course, from Partners for Incentives. And this show will be live next week on YouTube, and we will feature it in RRN along with a summary article for those of you who are too impatient to watch it. So thank you again, both of you, for your time.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Bruce. Thanks, Terry.
You're
Take
welcome.
care.